So I've got my original Red 124 project's instrument cluster on the bench today. Reason being is since I have changed the instrument clusters, the cruise control has stopped working in my Red 124. And the cluster that I've put in there, I've never actually tested before the time that I actually put it in there. So I'm not sure what's going on there. I might have just forgotten to plug in the vehicle speed sensor output connector or the power going to the vehicle speed sensor. Oddly, yes, it is a mechanical speedo, but MB in their infinite wisdom decided to still have a vehicle speed sensor for cruise control, for the speed sensitive outside temperature display, and it's also used for the deceleration fuel cutoff in certain versions of KE Jetronic, like on my 300E24. When you take your foot completely off the accelerator pedal above a certain threshold, fuel injection is cut completely for the purposes of saving fuel, and then it seamlessly reactivates when you get down to a certain speed when you're coming to a stop. It's all about environmental friendliness back in the day. But anyway, I've got this rigged up to my scope. So I've got the scope positive lead connected to the vehicle speed signal output, which is the green and yellow wire. And I have got power going into the bottom connection, positive going to black, and brown is always ground. I've currently got 5 volts feeding into it. I'm not sure what the voltage is supposed to be, but that sensor seems to work from anywhere from 3 volts up to 12 without any problem. You can see there's nothing on the scope screen at the moment. And just with a spare motor that I have lying around, I'm just going to give some drive to this speedo. And we can see that it generates a nice square wave. Don't worry about the interference showing up there. That's just because my leads are touching from the motor. So that's what I suspect is the problem with that other instrument cluster. I'm going to go out and play with that now. It could be something silly. It could be that I've unplugged the stalk when I was playing around with the steering wheel. I hope it's not something that silly, but I guess we'll find out. So I've now installed the vehicle speed sensor or Hall effect sensor from the replacement cluster that's in the red car into my bench test cluster. This is the one that was out of this cluster. This is the one that works. It's got a March 1990 date code, and this one is a July 1990 date code, so it's newer. Let's see if this one works. And yes, it does. So that ain't the problem. I might actually have a problem with my cruise control, or the stalk is probably just unplugged from when I was playing with the steering wheel. Well, after much messing around with the Red 124, everything tested out okay. So the speed sensor is okay, and also the stalk is okay. So the old chestnut, the cruise control module, I'm trying another one that I had spare, which I have recapped. This is the original one from Red. I'll open this up and see what it's like. This is the latest style that has a custom microcontroller. It's a bit more advanced than the early all analog version. You know the difference because it's got the coding plug, and it's also got a large 40-pin dip plastic package in there from a rather unique company. Anyway, I'm going to go test drive the car now and see if this works. I hope so, because I don't have any more of these control modules, and I don't really have a way of testing them without building a jig. So I can confirm, and it should be of no surprise to anybody, that it was actually the cruise control module that was causing my problems. Because this one that I have rebuilt previously, as you can see, it's working flawlessly. And I will say that the rebuild basically only consisted of checking and redoing any bad solder joints and replacing the required capacitors. I did test all of them, and I only needed to change the bad ones. So it's not even all of them. And brake deactivates, so it's working perfectly. So acceleration, we can see that that's working. Let go and it will maintain that speed. Deceleration, it will continue to drop speed as long as I've got that held down, and then it should maintain the speed that it got to while it was held down. And it's working perfectly. So there you go. I didn't need to bother testing the stalk because it's practically never the problem. I didn't need to bother testing the speed signal because that's practically never the problem. It's almost always that aluminium can underneath the steering column. And once again, that was the problem today. It just confused me because it was working before I changed the instrument cluster. It must have just been a coincidence that the extra driving had rattled it around enough to kill it. So this is another module that's in here. If you're interested in seeing what they look like inside, I can make another video and open up the one that is original to this car. Let me know. I do apologize for not showing how to test the stalk, but it's not rocket science, and as I said, it's almost never the problem. The connectors are under the dash there on the driver's side. If you want to play with that, you just need a multimeter set to continuity mode, and you can figure out for yourself in each direction if there is continuity on various pins. Anyway, that's enough for today.